Attention denizens of planet Earth.
Broadcasting from Carbondale in Southern Illinois' premier comic shop. And now your host, superlative shaman of comic book knowledge, Dan Brown. Flash the match signal in case of emergency for your host with the most on his mind, Matt Morton. Watch out, criminals. There's nothing funny to him about truth, justice, and the American way. It's Commander Harris himself, Scott Reed. And tuning in from the far reaches of no man's land, the mad scientist dream leader, Mike New. This is Campus Comics Cast.
Welcome to another episode of the Campus Comics Cast. This is Dan, and we're coming to you from inside Campus Comics at 816 East Main Street, Suite B.
Hopefully everybody can hear us.
Yeah, hopefully there's
it might be an all silent episode.
Not a bunch of audio mistakes, or just crank it up so you can hear it.
That's right.
And I'm joined tonight by
Matt Martin
and Scott Reed.
And this is a previews episode, so we're going to look at this month's issue of previews catalog. This is the November catalog for product that will start shipping in January of 2020 in the
2020,
future.
yeah. I felt like we should have had our flying cars.
Right.
This is when Robot Man takes over. Or wait, just Iron Man. Iron Man 2020.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man
And
2020.
we've got plenty of that to talk about in this catalog for some reason.
Because it's been, 30-something years in the making?
Yeah.
Does anybody care about that story?
I do.
Okay.
You don't care about his sweet shoulder pad ruffles? He has metal ruffles. Every time I look at that, I just think it looks like a dated woman's blouse. Those look like ruffles to me. I know
it's
they're
a
supposed to be
puppy pirate
gears.
shirt.
I get that they're gears, but they look like an 80s woman's blouse with the ruffles around the shoulder. It doesn't look cool. It just looks strange, like it's ruffled metal. I don't
Google it, listener, and you'll know what we're talking about. So
Speaking of Iron Man 2020, let's start the DC
yeah,
catalog.
let's start with the DC previews.
Oh, for a second I thought you were going to go rogue. I was like, oh, Scott, shaking things up. Nope.
What, page
Page
two?
one.
Page
Oh,
two.
wait. So before we get going, we do have to say,
1, 2,
this is
3.
This is for, as Dan said, product shipping in January. If there's anything in here that you see that you want to add to your pull list, or especially if there's anything that's a specialty product that Mike might not carry otherwise, orders are due the day before Thanksgiving. What did we say? That was the 27th? Yeah. So there's a weird little thing about when they're actually due because of the holiday and stuff. But for you, for safety's sake, the week before Thanksgiving is when you
Let us know before you leave town for Thanksgiving.
Yep, that's a good safe bet. All right, so on we go. I guess we're just going to start about Wonder Woman 750, right?
750. I'm glad they kept the original numbering.
Do you know what? Did you see what they had to do to keep the numbering?
No.
They had to cancel Wonder Woman issue 84, which means that there are then headlines that say Wonder Woman 84 canceled. Wonder Woman 84 is the name of the movie.
Right.
So it made a really weird thing where Wonder Woman 84 is canceled. And I kept seeing it. And every time I'd be like, what? Oh, they mean number 84.
Yeah. Phrasing.
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent to Action 1000 and Detective 1000 that we've gotten the last couple of years.
Just 250 issues sooner.
Right, yeah. But, for Wonder Woman, so we have some decades variants that they're doing with this, too, by, some pretty top-tier guys. Here we've got Adam Hughes and Jim Lee, Oliver Copiel.
J. Scott Campbell.
Yeah, and George Perez.
That'll
Brian
be a
Boland.
seller.
Oh, yeah, Joshua Middleton.
And
Jennifer
Adam Hughes,
Zahn.
yeah. I'm just happy to see that not only is Gail Simone coming back, but Greg Rucka is coming back.
Yeah.
You could, there are, I've talked about this before, you could give me Garth Ennis on The Punisher every month until I die, and I would buy that book. You could give me Greg Rucka writing Wonder Woman, and I'd buy that book forever. One of my favorite runs, the same way Jeff Johns on Flash, one of my favorite runs on any character is his pre-New 52 Wonder Woman run. So I'm super happy to have him back, even if it's just for one issue.
So after that, we have the Birds of Prey #1 from Black Label, which was supposed to be a series.
Supposed to be an ongoing.
And now it's a
then it was
one-shot.
Then it was going to be a mini-series,
Yeah.
and they've taken all 4 issues and condensed them into one-shot for $10.
I've heard it's just the first 2.
Really?
Yeah, that they've kind of condensed
I've seen everybody.
down.
It's 1 through 4.
Is that what
It's
they're saying?
It's
Okay.
96 pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who knows?
Yeah.
But
It makes
that,
more sense that it'd be a 3 or 4 issue series.
That does not.
Well, it may. You know what? It may be they already had 1 and 2 done.
Yeah.
It might
Yeah, I
be
think
might
so.
be what I've
I think
heard.
Because they solicited at least number. I think they solicited 1 and 2, but by the time 2 was solicited, they'd actually already said that it wasn't going to ship. They did solicit 1. We did put orders in for 1. I know that. Yeah, it does not. it gives you a peek behind the curtain at how unorganized things are at DC sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about how disorganized Marvel is later, though. If you see some of the stuff in the
For sure.
in the catalog, yeah,
For sure. DC's definitely responding to changes in the market. I mean, we're gonna hit it in a minute, but I don't know if you saw this or not. But they actually shuttered Vertigo a month early, and no one
Yeah.
noticed.
Oh,
They were supposed to have one more month of books labeled Vertigo, and they just quietly stopped. So I actually had to run and find a copy of House of Secrets or Books of Magic. Books of Magic 13 was technically the last book with a Vertigo label, and I don't even buy Books of Magic, and I bought it on behalf of my beloved fallen Vertigo.
page 4, you got Batman 86. This is the first issue with James Tynion IV.
Yep.
86 and 87 are solicited. It'd be
don't
interesting
know-
to see how many people pick it up and how many people leave.
I don't know that I need Tony Daniel back.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with it. I
Like
think
it grew on me during his run, but it's like I'd rather see a new artist. Still
I
here,
am
too.
fine with as long as it's not Tony Daniel writing, because
Yeah,
Tony Daniel
for
writing
sure.
is not great. The thing that's funny about this is that these 2 pages of solicitations, you may not realize, call BS on DC's entire Tom King pitch, because he got fired off that book.
yeah.
When the sales dropped a little, he got fired because Bob Harris doesn't get his run. Then the sales picked back up for City of Bane, and they had to scramble. But originally, the official line was that Tom couldn't keep up with double shipping because they had to catch things up. Then they said immediately after that, "Oh, Batman's going to be once a month starting in 2020," and everyone was like, "But I thought he couldn't keep up with the double shipping." And then they quietly just kept the double shipping after that. So I'm happy to have it. James Tynion is going to be great. This guy's only going to get 14 issues before they cancel it and relaunch with the new number 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey,
At least he'll get that run in.
yep.
Page 6 and 7, Daphne Byrne, another Hill House comics title. So what would have been
What would have been Vertigo?
Would have been Vertigo.
Have you read Basket Full of Heads?
I
It's
have
the only
not.
one's come out yet.
I've not read it yet. I've got it in my to-read pile. It's sitting there waiting for me.
I liked it. It felt, I know this is a very obvious comparison to make, but it felt very Stephen King. It felt like the beginning of a Stephen King novel, which it should, given who his father is and how he writes. And then Dollhouse Family is out today, and I'm looking at it literally behind Scott right now as we sit here. And I'm looking forward to reading that too. But yeah, you don't even need to tell me what Daphne Byrne is about. At this point, I'm just in the bag for all these Hill House books.
Plus art by Kelly Jones.
That's right. So I'll be picking this
That was
up.
going to be my other point. If nothing else, there's Kelly Jones.
Yeah, like I don't really care about the Hill House stuff. I'm not that into horror books, but yeah, Kelly Jones, I'm at least gonna pick up this first issue and see.
I don't
what
ever
it is.
think that I'm into horror books, and then I buy a lot of them.
Right.
I'm like, I guess I am.
On page 10, we've got the new facsimile edition this month, and it's Detective Comics 359.
We're not going to talk about page 8, Superman Heroes.
Well, I figured you would.
Yeah, well, you just jump in pages. Well, this is just, if you don't know, it's made mainstream press. I had to tell Mike today to up orders. In Superman 18, which is the December issue of Superman, he is going to finally basically kill the Clark Kent alter ego and publicly come out as Clark Kent and Superman are the same person. Superman Heroes is a one-shot about how other people deal with this coming out and being public knowledge.
Because that would totally stick forever, and they'll never retcon this awkwardly.
Well, if 5G takes off and all of the new wave of Justice League people, and we can address this at the end, what the rumor is. It's a complicated rumor. We'll just table that for a second, and we'll talk about it at the end.
Hey, but we talked about the Superman identity reveal a couple of previews episodes back.
I believe we did.
We did. So that's why you should listen to us.
Yep. We know what we're talking about.
so back
We
on page
read a
10.
lot of nerd stuff. So, Dan, tell us about your old books that you're so excited about.
So we're getting a facsimile edition of Detective 359, which is the first Barbara Gordon Batgirl. This is probably the next big expensive book I have to buy.
I used to have
for a
it. It's one of the books
detective.
that I regret not having anymore.
Yeah, and so this is a much
It's not-
cheaper
it's not that
version.
pricey.
No, but you know.
It should be more, is the
Yeah,
thing.
oh, yeah.
It's not a cheap book, but when you think the first Batgirl...
As soon as we get Batgirl in a movie, that's got to be unaffordable.
Yeah. But, I don't know. It's at a time when comics were pretty popular and mainstream, so it's not insanely low
Oh, yeah, and
runs.
it's Batman in the 60s.
Right, and that's
you know
what I was saying. It was
mean?
on top of which it was a Batman comic in the 60s, so there's quite a few of them. But, anything from that's not that insanely rare.
Page 19. Anybody got anything before that?
26 is my next thing. So
22 is mine.
We've got Batman versus Ra's al Ghul #5, which will not be coming out in January because they've already pushed back 3 and 4. I think it
Has
is.
1 come out?
Oh yeah,
Have
1 and 2.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I knew we'd had a bunch of delays, and
Yeah.
I'm not getting it, so I couldn't remember. Oh yeah, there they are. There's 1 and 2 up there.
Yeah, I picked it up for the Batman logo on the cover. That
How
old
is
school?
How's the book?
You know how the book is. It's Neil Adams writing Batman. And he's drawing and inking and coloring everything in air quotes that you can't see, listeners.
Yeah.
That's totally not his studio helping him out on this book. It's all a one-man
This
show.
is not like Jim Lee hiring people to draw like Jim Lee back in the day, or, Yeah. What you got? What's your next one?
26.
I got 22.
22.
Just Detective Comics Annual. I think everybody kind of thought that Alfred wasn't really dead, but this issue is an R.I.P. Alfred issue that certainly implies that maybe he's staying dead for now. I still don't think he's gonna stay dead.
Talking about 60s Batman books.
But he did stay dead for a while.
Yeah.
In the 60s, right?
Yeah. They brought him back.
Yep. They did.
he got better.
Yep.
He turned Robin into a coffin.
Page 26, you got the final issue of the Freedom Fighters 12-issue series. I've been kind of holding out for the trade on this one, so we should see a trade coming pretty soon.
It's good.
Yep. I've been hearing really good things about Robert Venditti's writing.
Yep.
So I feel like I should pick this up. And Hawkman, too, has got supposed to have a good run on Hawkman as well. So.
I met him at C2E2. He was a super nice guy.
Cool. That's good to know.
For all that makes a difference in your comic buying.
next thing's
Having said that, sometimes when I meet people and they're a real jerk, I think I kind of don't like your books as much anymore now. That has definitely soured my opinion of some creators.
My next thing's page 37. So
On
Same.
34, we have Justice League 39, and it looks like we're getting to the end of Scott Snyder's run on here. I'm not sure if this is the last issue of it.
It's
or
real close,
It
and
seems like it could
And
be.
Tinian exited a little early too
Yeah, so
to go do Batman.
we'll see what they do with Justice League once Scott Snyder's off.
Put it on hiatus until they do Crisis in the summer. That'd be my
Yeah.
guess.
page 37, just the soliciting the 3rd issue of Legion of Superheroes. I was just mentioning it because the last issue came out last week, or the first issue, excuse me, came out last week.
You're both correct.
Yeah.
both
The
statements
most
are correct.
recent issue, which was the first issue and also the last issue, came out last week. So some people were digging the connecting covers for the first 2 issues as well. So
Yeah, I was saying before we started recording that I'm actually more excited. I enjoyed 1 more for having seen the solicitation for 3 because not a terrible amount of stuff happens in 1, and I was afraid that was a sign that we were going to get a bunch of Marvel-style Bendis decompression, and it was going to be 6-issue arcs that probably didn't need to be 6 issues. But the fact that 3 is the beginning of the Robin and Superboy in the 31st Century arc makes me think that the first story arc is only 2 issues long. So that's great.
Okay.
Get it going. Step on the gas.
my next thing's not until 71, so you guys go for a while.
On 44, we have Shazam number 10.
Also
which
late.
is not coming out then, and it's a sort of a Christmas themed cover.
That's what I was going to
that
say. It's
won't be
already
shipping
bad
before
enough that it was a month late for a Christmas cover.
Which is the same thing they did last year when they had Santa Claus on the cover, and the book didn't ship till January.
Yep.
So they're doing it again this year for everybody.
Yep. On 45 is Suicide Squad number 2. Like I said last month, I'm super excited, and I'm actually probably more excited for number 2 than number 1 because if you look at the cover, that is mostly a bunch of made-up new heroes / villains, I guess the case may be, and I like that. That's what I want. I actually don't. I got a lot of problems with the Suicide Squad movie in general, and a lot of problems with how it affected the comics. I'm a huge fan of the Suicide Squad in general. It's my favorite superhero team, honestly. But what I like is that it's all B-listers that they can do any damn thing they want. Right. And when you make it full of Harley and unkillable characters, it's there's not any point. That's just mean Justice League, really. Like that to me is the difference between reading something like Justice League and Suicide Squad. No one's going to die in Justice League. You know that. These are like the A-listers. The more A-listers you put in Suicide Squad, the less it actually is Suicide Squad. So I'm super excited. All right, what's your next thing?
On 71, we have this month's Dollar Comics from DC. We have Brave and the Bold 197, which is Earth 2, Batman and Catwoman. And I believe this is the one with the pedophile joke in it. So that should be in there.
Oh my.
Also got the first.
It's not as bad as it might sound. I think it's Commissioner Gord or someone holding a shoebox from a store called Pedophiles. like a lover of feet.
Yeah.
He is the rationale for
gosh.
that, but we know what they're saying. Then we have Batman Adventures number 12, which is the first comic book appearance of Harley Quinn.
Yep.
So $1, that's half of what I paid for it back in the day. So there's that, but it's gone up quite a bit since then. So
about
just a
300 or
smidge.
so times.
this is,
Yeah.
definitely a cheaper way to pick that up. We have Batman Huntress Cry for Blood number 1. I assume because there's a version of Huntress coming out in the Birds of Prey movie. And the Detective 554, which is the first 80s costume for Black Canary. I'm not sure what else is really significant about that.
Well,
book.
that's what they're pushing on. It is the
Yeah.
costume change. So
I don't know that there's a big fan following for that costume, but there you
It
go.
Hey, but
probably
it's $1.
gets, probably
Yeah.
gets shown for a minute in the Harley Quinn movie.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
probably
I got
one of
nothing
those
until
scenes where they're trying to decide what costume she's going to
Yeah.
wear.
I was
gonna
And
say, it'd be like the-
that'll be one of the
Spy.
ones that'll
I was going to
flash
say, I
through.
assume it just showed that was her mom's or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Because, of course, her mom would have been from the 80s now.
77.
73, we
guess-
have a new trade of Batman Broken City by Brian Azzarello and Edward
Very
Rizzo.
underrated.
Yeah. I feel like this gets kind of lost in the shuffle with a lot of bigger Batman stories.
Well, it followed Jim Lee, and
Yeah.
it was
Followed
destined to be poorly received
Yeah.
at that point. We still sold the bejesus out of that book, but I remember I could watch the air drain out of that balloon because DC picked up a whole lot of Marvel people for Batman, and they followed it with a hardcore, gritty crime story with very different art. And it was a great book,
Yeah.
but not the right book to
And
follow.
100
Hush.
Bullets went on hiatus during this, right?
I think
because
so.
it's the same crew that
It's the
did 100
exact same
Bullets
crew.
that Azzarello brought over.
Yep.
And so I think it was like he didn't want anyone to be unemployed while they were doing this sort of deal. I think is what he said at the time.
I got it back on 66. Oddly, Doom Patrol is ending at 7. So at this point,
Oh, yeah.
can we just drop Young Animal? Like, I will be very curious to see if all 12 issues of Far Sector say Young Animal on them, because that's it. There are 2 Young Animal books, and I don't believe for a second that Gerard Way has anything to do with Far Sector.
No.
So, because that was the shtick here, was that he was sort of like the showrunner, the creative direction for all these books. I'm still not clear on why Far Sector is a Young Animal book, but
Especially when it's all Black Label now anyway.
right.
What's it matter?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm assuming this will either move to Black Label or to nothing. It'll just move to DC. There is, again, not to bury the lead here too much, but there's a rumor about her, and it relates to 5G. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling the label will just go away.
Right.
The same way that I think when Dial for H and Wonder Twins end, the only book left in Wonder Comics is Young Justice.
Justice.
I think it's just gonna
Right.
segue into DC.
In 75, we've got Batman The Dark Knight Detective Volume 3, and this is the trade version. And so this is a lot of good Alan Grant, Norm Brayfogle stuff here from late 80s, early 90s. I know the cover they've got here for the solicit, which I doubt it's the final cover, but I know that was a story about ecstasy back from like 1988. That they did back then, yeah. So ahead of the curve on that, I guess.
God, I love Brayfogle's Batman.
Oh, yeah.
On 76, we've got Ex Machina Compendium #1. If you haven't read that, it's Brian Vaughan and Tony Harris from back in the early 2000s, but it is about the superpowered mayor of New York. But it's about his origin and how he got his powers and navigating politics in America during the War on Terror, and it's really freaking good. And I continue to be stunned that this has not been optioned into anything.
Yeah, you figured that would have been a show or
Right.
something by now.
I mean, I get that Y is an easier sell, and that's
Right.
being made. But how once Y comes out, and if it does well, they're gonna option Ex
Yeah.
Machina.
Well,
There's no way it does.
At this point, though, there's probably going to be confusion about the name. So they're going to have to do something different with the name if they do option it for something.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
remember when they made the movie that was.
That's why I was
related,
thinking,
like,
that's
my
going to
God.
be the comic. No.
Well, that's the thing. I still want a Mark Waid Empire TV show. They're not going to call it that now.
Nope.
Yep. And then on the opposite page, the Flash by Jeff Johns, Omnibus #1. I just mentioned it a little bit ago. It's my favorite run of the Flash. Man, it's so good. So I will happily reread all that.
Back on 76 with that is the Flash of Two Worlds Deluxe Edition, which reprints the old team-up stories between the Earth 1 Flash, Earth 2, Golden Age, Silver Age Flashes. I picked up the Crisis on Infinite Earths box set that came out last
Saw
week.
it on Twitter. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I started reading the Multiple Earths collections, which are the old JLA, JSA team ups, and I'm like,
Yeah, like
oh,
semi-annual, almost kind of thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of wish they would have started with this stuff, with the Flashes meeting, and kind of explaining
do
the
they not?
multiverse. No,
It's just the JLA, JSA
It's
stuff.
the multiple Earths trades.
Yes,
from
I just
years ago.
assumed that Flash of Two Worlds would be the first
Yeah.
thing in that box.
But I feel like it should be, so I feel like I
Yeah.
might end up picking this up
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
have it alongside the box set.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Even
honestly.
though it's already a 14 hardcover box set,
I saw your
found
pics of
something.
it
Yeah.
opened.
I found something else they could throw in there.
Will, so we might as well talk about the last thing on those 2 pages on 76 and 77. So you got Green Arrow Year One, the deluxe edition by Andy Diggle, art by Jock. If you were a fan of the Arrow TV show, a lot of the basis of that show, the 5 years on the island, gets pulled from this series. Plus, it's a really good series.
Yep.
So if you've not read it, definitely a good Green Arrow story.
I've got nothing until the very end, page 89.
I got page 80.
Well, in 78, we have Harley Quinn and the Gotham Girls trade. And this was the Gotham Girls miniseries they did years ago that I think is another thing people have kind of forgotten about. That
a
was
lot of
just cartoony, kind of fun book.
It was based on the second version of DC's animated universe house style. That's from like when The Batman was out. That's why it looks a little different, I think. But it's still really good.
Yeah.
On page 80, you got the trade paperback for the Legion of Superheroes, The Road to Legion. Basically, it's the Millennium storyline plus Superman 14 and 15 and Supergirl 33. So last episode, we actually did a little review about this series. So if you missed it, are there any copies of that still on the shelf?
Which one?
I think
The
we might have
Legion of
sold them.
Superheroes Millennium. So
I think that's just issues of Legion.
okay, so yeah, so if you missed it, here you can pick it up in trade. So you can kind of get the whole origin story leading up to Legion. Just don't expect to see a lot of Legion in this
Yeah.
story leading to Legion. Then you won't be disappointed.
Right after that, we have Famous First Edition New Fun #1, which I think was solicited before. This is a
Yeah.
resolicit,
Yes.
so this is the first comic that DC produced back in the day, and we're getting a hardcover version of it now.
Page 83, you've got Superman, the Man of Steel Omnibus by John Byrne. The 6-issue Man of Steel series, that's my favorite Superman origin story.
Yep.
So now this includes a lot more than that, but if you've not read that, that's something that's kind of a must-read for any
Overall,
DC fan.
Yeah, overall, his run is my favorite run of Superman, period. It's also just so freaking classic in terms of things that got stolen later, like Luthor's power armor suit and a lot of things that you, if you remember, like the superpowers line, it's very reminiscent of all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd say aside from maybe the fashion in that
Yeah,
book, it could be made today.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean? The
holds up pretty
themes
well.
and everything. You see Luthor balding over the course of the storyline.
It still has one of my favorite Superman scenes where, and I'm sure I've said this on the podcast before, where Lois comes into Clark's apartment and Clark's in the bathroom. He comes out and Lois is like lifting his weights and he's like, I don't see how you say so big using weight that's so light. That's all I have for DC. So
I got one last thing. I'm gonna buy that Wonder Woman, that Catwoman wedding dress statue, and I can't really think of a reason why I need it other than I love that. It's just a gorgeous statue. I actually told my wife, I said, hey, if I want to buy a Catwoman wedding dress statue and put it in the living room, and she goes, oh, is that the Joelle Jones thing we saw at the con? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, you should get that. I was like, all right. So she was super excited, but she was like, that was great. So I'm buying a Catwoman wedding dress statue.
I feel like Mona's an enabler.
Oh, she's 100% an enabler. I told her I was buying that Tweeterhead Superman, and her first comment was awesome, not how much or
Right.
where's it going. It was just awesome.
Well, right before that statue, we have the Batman Black and White #100 by Todd McFarlane, which is resolicited. I believe it was $100 first go around. Then it was $120, $125. It is now $135.
Well, clearly, it's 35% better than it originally was, Dan.
I mean, I know it's a big cape, but come on, guys. Figure this out before you solicit it. After that, we have some new DC Essentials action figures. This Flash Speed Force one, this is the exact opposite of what I've wanted in a Flash figure since the New 52. It's a basically red translucent skin Flash figure with the yellow highlights painted on. I want the opposite with the New 52 version. We have a solid red and translucent yellow piping to emulate the Speed Force more.
That would be good.
But I feel like that's covering up too much of the translucent plastic to probably make it worth it for him.
Doesn't it strike you as weird that Superman doesn't have his mullet? Doesn't he have a mullet when he
I
had
think
that? Or is this from the Convergence?
I think
one?
this is the Lois and Clark
Okay.
Superman.
Okay.
Where they're in hiding for so many years,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But yeah, he should have had a mullet.
Yeah.
And a beard, as opposed to just his 5 o'clock shadow.
Right. So
moving
Marvel.
on to Marvel catalog.
All right, so two things. One, I feel like we're back to like a normal month for Marvel, where we're not talking exclusively about like some giant crossover thing, which I feel like is good. And then two, on multiple pages inside the Marvel catalog, you got this little blurb in the upper corner that says, the below titles and variants are not in the January order form due to the holiday manufacturing schedule. Please note that these are the Diamond codes you will need to use to order these titles. Marvel and Diamond will be sending weekly reminders noting this. So apparently they didn't get into the order form with
Some stuff
Diamond.
missed the previous catalog.
And there's a lot of these pages that were in there. So. And it's so, for example, on Thor #1, that's there. So we get a new Thor #1, written by Donny Cates. Now, I know a lot of people love Donny Cates. I kind of feel like he's a little silly on his writing sometimes. So,
Well, you know he's coming to SlukyCon next year. You
oh,
probably
great.
wanna
Okay,
badmouth
so
him
yes,
on there.
Oh man, if that were true, I'd be so happy. I got some books I want signed. Also, full disclosure, as I was mocked on the very first episode of the show, no one quits things more than I do. And it's true. And I'm currently, the way some people are off carbs, I'm currently off Marvel for no reason other than I was running out of room in my friggin' house. So I've got to I have to purge some Marvel for a while before I can get back in. So I'm going to be buying very, very little. I'm still reading Marvel because basically anybody that buys Marvel, I'm hassling for their digital codes so I can read. I just don't want to take it out of my house, man.
Right.
Yeah, Donny Cates' books were the hardest thing to give up, honestly, because I like Venom and I really like his Guardians. Upside, though, his Guardians is ending in, one more issue, so wasn't really
probably going over to this store.
It is.
So,
it
yeah.
is. Yeah, because Al Ewing's taking over Guardians and he's moving over to Thor. I'm optimistic about his Thor because I know that is one of his bucket list characters.
Okay.
It was basically Thor and Batman are the characters. I think Batman's the other one. He said he wanted Thor, Batman, Thor and Spider-Man and Batman maybe. Anyway, but I know Thor is like his number one thing.
So
he's
probably
wanting to
got
write.
plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
That always scares me a little. Like, fanboys make the worst writers.
Right.
I used to always tell people when I worked here, and they would say, "Wouldn't you love to write Batman?" No, I'd be a terrible writer on Batman. Like, I've read way too many Batman comics. I would trip over my own feet constantly because I would constantly be thinking about, "Oh no, I can't do that," because someone I would assume that everybody had read as many Batman comics as me, which is very unlikely for most people. But I would do a terrible job. But if you gave me somebody that I didn't have a strong connection, I could probably write a decent Green Lantern comic better than I could a Batman one. I haven't read a lot of Green Lantern. I don't have enough of it in my head to get in my own way. So I'm a little worried about that. But he's super excited. So I think it'll probably be good.
And Guardians of the Galaxy also gets a new #1, written by Al Ewing. So it'll be interesting to see if he can bring the Immortal Hulk magic to Guardians. So
That book doesn't sell like you'd think it would, given how popular those movies are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well, that goes for a lot of books.
I
Well,
know, but
that's
I mean,
all
like
books, all comics.
Guardians is the most insanely part of the MCU, insanely popular part of the MCU, right? Not that there aren't things more popular, but given the comic heat on it, it's inordinately popular in the mainstream. But that does not carry over to the comics. And I have no idea why.
But yeah, hopefully he can do something great with it. 13. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to talk about the shoulder pads
I have
again?
nothing to say about this. This is part of what made it easy for me to go off Marvel. As I looked at this catalog and I went, don't care on a lot of the event stuff that's in it.
Well, this like a not even really an event. It's just you knew it had to happen with the year 2020. We got
No, it didn't.
It didn't
yes,
have
it
to
did.
happen.
They didn't
had
have to do
happen.
Armageddon 2001 in 2001.
Would have been an odd time, given
know,
that currently in September
Yeah.
of that year would have felt real weird.
So we've got a 6-issue series, Iron Man 2020, written by Dan Slott. That should get you something. But what also is interesting about this is on page 12, we have a checklist leading up into June, and we have 2 titles in May and June called Classified. Dun, dun, dun.
Turns out that's the actual title of the book.
Yes, yeah, that'll
Probably
be it.
is.
Yeah.
They are doing a
Well,
book called
Incoming,
Incoming. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun explaining that to customers.
So, but
What's
anyway.
incoming? I don't know. What's in it? I don't know. What's it called? Well, it's called incoming.
Yeah.
Having said that, I will say there are some nice 2020 variants coming out. They've started showing online with some cool concepts.
17.
So we got this month's True Believers.
True Believers,
books,
couple of pages worth.
just
Yep.
dealing with crazy people, I guess.
Yeah, looks
tying
like
into
it.
Ravencroft somehow.
I thought it was funny that the book about the crazy person was Moon Knight 1, but they're not featuring Moon Knight as the crazy person.
No, yeah, weird.
So, but also you got a reprint of Daredevil 131, First Bullseye. Page 18, you've got Daredevil 4, the first Purple Man. The other ones I'm not so big on.
Is
But
the Absorbing Man crazy?
well,
Or is he just some blue collar dude with a wrecking ball?
he's been crazy. I don't know if he was
Okay.
initially crazy. There was one time he got absorbed into water, and then when he came back, it took him forever to get himself put back together. And he was kind of a little off kilter after that. So yeah, I guess so. To think you can beat Thor, you probably have to be a little crazy.
Right. So
He is
after,
a god, after all. And you're just a dude with a ball and chain.
after that, we have Marvel's bringing back The End. So we're getting some one shots. We have Eric Larson on Captain America at The End.
know. What?
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's got a good story if he's coming back to do this. We'll see. There's Deadpool The End, Captain Marvel The End, Miles Morales The End. That could be a cool story.
You notice you got Miles Morales with the gray beard in that
Yeah.
image. Yeah.
And then Venom The End and Doctor Strange The End. I think that's all of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Those don't do much for me. So
well, the thing is, it's sort of like if you're putting the end, it needs to be the end, not like what they did with the Wolverine story where he's still alive at the end of that story because they just cannot pull the trigger on killing Wolverine even in an alternate future.
Well, they like money.
Yeah, well, I like good stories.
Sometimes those things conflict.
page 28, you got Marvel's. I guess is this X or Marvel's
Yeah,
10?
I'm gonna say Marvel's
I'm gonna
X.
go with
I'm-
Marvel's
'cause I
X as
think this
well.
is
Earth X and
branching
Universe
Marvels
X.
and Earth
Yes,
X.
yeah. So anyway, new 6-issue series. Alex Ross, Jim Kruger. So if you were a fan of Earth X, I guess it's like the final of the trilogy. The Earth X trilogy is what we're branding it
supposed
as.
to be a prequel kind of thing.
Oh, really?
That's what I thought. Because they're talking about going to New York with Captain America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a very uncanny prequel to the legendary Earth X
Okay.
trilogy.
Ah, okay.
So,
Because you already had Earth X, Universe X,
X.
and
was it Planet? No, what was it? Paradise.
Paradise.
X.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot about
when
Paradise.
you said planet, I was like, that's not right. It's dumber than that.
I think Earth X is the only one I've actually read out
Yeah,
of all
me
those.
too.
So,
I have read none of them.
well, you should read Earth X.
Earth X is good.
Earth
It's
X
worth-
is really
it's worth
good.
reading.
Yeah.
There's some cool concepts.
I just remember that by the time the next one came out, everyone was like, this isn't very good. Earth X, everybody liked fairly well. Like, I missed it. I started working here right after the trade came out, and I just never got around to it because I knew that the sequel was not particularly great, and it was an endless amount of one-shots and spin-offs.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it just,
there was a lot.
God, it just went on forever.
Slams to Bob Harris. hidden in there.
Yeah. That was in the
Thanks for
Spidey.
moving to DC, Bob.
After that, we have X-Men 5 and 6, which I think are not going to be out in January because I think the next couple issues of that have been pushed back too. So those won't be coming quite that soon, I bet.
Page 40 is my next thing.
On 40, yeah.
40. Okay, so
I got 39. Just
Okay,
'cause
go ahead.
How awesome is Vietnam Man Thing's name being Manslaughter?
Right.
He's supposed to be like GI Man Thing, and his name is Manslaughter.
Now the problem I have with this is they changed his look with the whole teeth thing, so he doesn't look like he looks more like Swamp Thing.
No
But he's-
carrot nose.
But,
Yeah.
he's not the same thing. So he's not Man
okay.
Thing. He's just like some variant of Man
Okay, all right.
Thing.
But now he just looks more like Swamp Thing. So.
Yeah, with a minigun, with 3 miniguns technically.
He's
on
got to
top of
get
each
to the
other.
chopper.
He does.
All right, so page 40, and I think this came up before, but we got Facsimile Incredible Hulk number 180, and they're billing it as the first appearance of Wolverine.
Mike and I just talked about this right before the recording that we don't understand how 180 is not the first appearance. He's in costume. He's listed by name. What else do you
He's
want?
got a whole page. He's
Yep.
there for a whole page.
He's not in it that much.
Right,
You know?
but like, what's the percentage
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
looking for here?
Yeah. If Darkseid's first appearance is his first appearance, that totally is
But his
Wolverine's
first appearance is New Gods, though, not that Jimmy Olsen one. Jimmy Olsen's cameo.
Didn't Hickman say something like about Wolverine, Hulk 180 being Wolverine's first appearance as well? Didn't you mention that once before?
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, there's a lot of. And Mike and I were talking about. There's some more recent, like Kamala Khan there is, depending on who you ask, there's like 3 different things that qualify as her first appearance. And right. So there's all this like weirdness about, well, did you mean when she's called Ms. Marvel, or when Kamala first appears, or she appears in the background of a Ms. Marvel issue, but she's not named? And like, okay, that's the cameo, right? But so it's super weird. And there's another character, I can't think of who it is, that's technically their first appearance in costume was in a Marvel Knights preview book they put out. And
Is that that second Black Widow?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, the Yelena. Like, where's her first appearance?
Right.
Is it like, dude, I don't know. Can we just agree on some things? And, you know how hard it is to speculate on things when you're not sure if you're buying the right book?
So after that, we have Wolverine versus Sabretooth 3D, #1.
I love that book, but I don't have any need to read that in 3D. It just seems strange. Like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's a cool issue to pick. And then I was like, oh, in 3D, that's bizarre and unnecessary. Why would I do that?
Yeah, like I don't have that book. That was one of them back when I was a kid that like, oh, everybody's getting rid of Wolverine things. This shot up back in the day. It was unattainable as a kid.
It had a bunch of potential Wolverine backstory in it. And,
I think all of it probably has been
none
debunked
of it mattered,
since
I'm
then.
sure.
But yeah, it just seems like, oh, that's a random issue to do that with. So 43, we have Avengers of the Wasteland #1, and I guess this is the same world as Old Man Logan. They're gonna milk this one more time, I guess, with the Avengers. See what we get out of that.
No, because it's not. That's not Maestro unless it's like. Well, I guess it's a different Hulk, isn't it?
Yeah, Maestro isn't Old Man Logan, or was he in the series? Maybe he wasn't in the original Old Man Logan. It was the crazy cannibalistic Hulk.
Okay, I was equating to Maestro just because he's had the same look.
Yeah.
So
I'm just happy on 42. I kind of like the idea of this Daily Bugle book. It reminds me of like Gotham Central, like having a Spider-Man adjacent, the way they did a Batman adjacent book for a little bit. That's about.
I mean, do you think Marvel's going to do a book that well?
Correct. I'm not going to buy it, but I like the idea, and I hope it's done well.
Right.
It's being written by people who aren't really comic people either. I don't think Matt Johnson's not done a ton of stuff. I think he has a career outside of comic writing.
Oh, he did Incognito.
Yeah. And I can't remember what he does, if he's a novelist or a journalist or something. He has some sort of writing career outside of comics, so I think they at least have put a good team on it for it. But I agree with you. I'm a little skeptical about whether or not Marvel will actually, let them do something like Gotham Central. Probably not. Right. But still kind of cool if they're at least trying. Pretending they try.
After that, we have a book called Tarot from Marvel. I wonder if Jim Ballant has something to say about that. Since that's the book
feels like that must have been copyrighted.
Over 100 issues or something now, right?
Marvel's like, well, there's way fewer boobs in this, so I think we can get away with it. I mean, they would be correct that very few people would be confused about this. Whoa. There's so much less cleavage in this book than I'm used to seeing. This isn't what I wanted.
Page 54, we have a new Hawkeye 5-issue series. Free Fall, issues 1 and 2 are listed, and Hawkeye goes up against Ronin. How can that happen? It's the same person.
Oh, man.
Just look at the movie.
Back to being, what's her name?
Yeah. Maya Lopez echoes. Yeah. No, I don't think it's going to be her either. So I think it'll be somebody else new in the mask. But it's got some stylized art. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to give it a shot.
Otto Schmidt on art, so it'll look good. What else? Page 58. Immortal Hulk, Great Power #1. Looks like we're getting a return of Spider Hulk. Yeah, Matt, shake that head.
But not written by Al Ewing.
I'm buying it though.
Nope, but still called Immortal Hulk. Yeah. It is written by Tom Taylor, who's pretty darn good. But yeah, let's cash in a little. Okay. Oh, Immortal Hulk selling? Put a one-shot out that's unrelated.
I don't know, Matt, I'll buy anything Spider Hulk.
And back on 57, of course, Immortal Hulk 29, and on page 59, Immortal Hulk 30. So still probably the best book at Marvel right now.
On 66, we have Marvel's Black Widow Prelude #1. So this is sort of a prequel to the movie that's coming out. And it's not a sequel, so this can't be an adaptation of a pre-existing movie, which is what these have turned into for some reason. So I assume you're getting a new story here. We'll see. 77. Anybody have anything before that?
73. Valkyrie has issue 7. And I was surprised this made it past issue 6.
Right.
So
it's been good.
Same. I thought it was going to get miniseries.
But yeah, so it's on to issue 7. Go ahead.
On 77, we have Amazing Spider-Man 347, a facsimile edition, and I think this is tying into the Venom Island story.
I loved that cover when I was
oh,
a kid.
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
buying it off the shelf, and that was...
Yeah, I never had this. I think my cousin had it or something. I'd be like, oh, I want that issue, kind of thing.
My next thing is 86.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Nothing. It's just that Spider-Verse #4. Did we miss this? Were the previous issues written by Taran Killam from Saturday Night Live? Or is it
I don't
just
know.
this issue? I think
No,
it's
I'm not
just
sure.
this issue. But somehow, that like as I was flipping through, my eye caught that. And I was like, wait, what? And I went back, and sure enough, it even says, of ABC single parents, formerly of Saturday Night Live. So he is a funny writer, man. His best characters on SNL were written by him. So I can't think of the character's name. Have you ever seen he was supposed to be like an 18th century snob that would come on
the
Weekend
critic.
Update. Yeah, he was supposed to be a literary critic. He wrote those skits. So I don't know. I don't know that I want him to do Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Like Western Spider-Man doesn't seem like that's really in his wheelhouse, but
We'll find out.
okay.
But this image of an Old West Spider-Man is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So my next thing's on 101.
On 89, we've got Marvel's Avengers Thor #1. So this is tying into the Marvel's Avengers video game that's coming out next year. I think they're doing some one-shots. I don't know if it'll be any good or not. We'll find out, I guess.
We got more Marvel video game comics in there too, because
Yeah.
there's more Spider-Man. So I guess this is just going to be an endless, semi-ongoing line of
Right.
tie-ins to the video game.
Yeah, because we've got a Black Cat series with the Spider-Man game coming out.
So 101 through 56, you've got a heavily scaled back Star Wars universe from Marvel, which seems like this should be the time they should be
For
ramping
now.
it. Yeah. It's not like they should have been ramping it up at this point, as opposed to scaling it back for around the time of the movie. Plus, this is January solicit, so it's after the movie's already out. They should be ready to ramp it right back up.
You never
But-
know. This might actually be a dictate from Disney, because they're putting the movies on a mini hiatus for a couple of years to get things back together. So maybe they told them you don't have to step on the gas so dang hard.
And it'd be good as long as they're good stories. I'd rather have a fewer good stories than a lot of crap.
Sales on Star Wars have dropped steadily as they have knocked out more books. The more Star Wars books they put out, the fewer copies they sell of all of it. It was at its peak when there were 2 books.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that before, like with X-Men. It's like I think X-Men universe would be better if it were like 2 titles
Yep.
instead of the 8 that they
The
got
Marvel
now.
way has always been hit that horse again. I think I saw it move.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one of the 2 books is just the continuation of a limited series. So
Right. On 111, kind of going into the trades, you have anything before
no,
that?
119.
We've got Amazing Fantasy Omnibus. So this is the entire run of Amazing Adventures, Amazing Adult Fantasy, and Amazing Fantasy, which this series is most well known for the last issue, 15, which is the introduction of Spider-Man. Does anybody really care about the stuff pre?
Is Amazing
Spider-Man?
Fantasy where technically the name Groot first appeared in a Marvel book? Because the character
No,
Groot,
it was a Tales to Astonish issue.
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot
I
of
know there
monsters
is
in
a
here.
thing called Groot
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
in one of the sci-fi
Yeah.
books, but then the character is.
Well, I
elsewhere.
think you get like a prototype Uncle Ben and Aunt May in some of those issues.
that Uncle Ben made rice. It was a different character.
Oh, okay.
He had a different career path.
Yeah, it's part of that deep crossover between rice farmers and Marvel Comics.
On 117, we have the new trade of Earth X coming out to coincide with the Marvel X book. And because they've just re-released all the Marvel stuff, we'll do Earth X.
119, Immortal Hulk hardcover volume 2. Not till May of 2020, so you can plan way ahead on this book. But I think these would be good books to actually have on your shelf, just to display. So,
Yeah, we've got Volume 1 here at the store if you want to come check that out, though.
and if you haven't read it, you should.
On 138, we've got Tales Through the Marvel Universe. So this collects the 9-issue Marvel, Comics Presents series that just kind of wrapped up. And so there's some good stuff in here. I was reading it. We've got the first appearance of Wolverine's daughter, whatever thing was going on with that everybody
Everybody-
cared about for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but everybody thought wasn't going to stick, but it did.
Yeah.
They didn't undo it.
After that, we've got Marvel Monograph, The Art of Arthur Adams trade. Yeah. So I thought this was just like a gallery thing, but it lists a writer on
Yeah, I
here.
think
so
it's
don't know
like
if that's just an
reprints of
intro
books
or-
and
Oh,
stuff.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the Star Wars Darth Vader poster book, so that will just be, posters you can hang up. Matt, you want to pour one out for their Dr. Afra?
No, because she's
Fucking
coming.
seven?
She's
I know.
coming right back.
You know that's what we're talking about next month.
Yep.
Is the new Dr. Afra #1.
And I had to send that to you, man. I saw that in
Yeah.
solicitations that it was coming, and I was like, oh, I have to send this to Dan. He's gonna. I will hear the no all the way over here.
Page 147 to 149 have several Black Widow trade paperbacks plus a Taskmaster trade paperback just in time for the Black Widow movie, which comes out, was it February or March of next year? I don't remember when it comes
I'm not
out.
sure.
So now I'm disappointed that they're not like making a push with the Wade Somney Black Widow
Yeah,
stories, because those are really good and they really should be pushing those. But I guess they're going back more towards her origin to kind of give you the stuff for that's going to be in the movie. So yeah.
So we have part of that is a Taskmaster trade, which features his first appearance. But you don't have to wait till that comes out because we've got it here at the store. If you want to pick up the first appearance of Taskmaster.
Plus the
Cameo
cameo.
and the full.
Yes.
That's right. So it's in the case if you want to check that out before. Get it now before that movie comes out. On 152 and 153, since they're bringing back The End, here's a bunch of trades of the previous The End stories they've done for Wolverine, Hulk, Iron Man, and Fantastic Four. And on 157, Marvel's posters. So they're, again, shooting down our game of showing all the posters like they should. What I thought was weird is there's that Mosaic Thor cover for #1 that's not a poster. I feel like that's one they really should have done. But again, they didn't ask us. So moving on to the big book now.
Big book. So page 30, previews catalogs, so you can see what it is that we're babbling on about. So you should pick up your copy, and plus you can see all the things that we don't talk about, because there's more things that we don't talk about than what we do talk about.
This podcast runs long enough as it is.
Yeah. As Matt checks the time on his phone.
I just don't want to keep us here all night. We're already late. I was late finishing the polls, so the podcast didn't start on time. Not that it matters to you, the listener, but
Page 44. It's my first thing.
Yeah, I don't have
Mine's
anything for quite a
42.
while in this one, so go
42,
ahead.
go.
everyone's going to enjoy having me record this. But oh my God, I'm so excited that Sex Criminals is back. I am. I'm not just joking. Now, I will say it is one of the books that I've always laughed that I don't like to read in public because it makes me look like, a deviant. But Sex Criminals is a fantastic freaking book. It's one of the things I recommended when some non-comic readers came in on Free Comic Book Day, and they seemed very excited for it. I think we sold the trade. But yeah, it's good. It's back, and it's for the final arc, so I'm stoked. I thought it was never coming back.
Page 44, you got The Clock. It's a 4-issue series by Matt Hawkins and Colleen Doran. Haven't seen her name. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's been quite a while. She's been in the industry a long time.
She always seems to sort of reemerge at Image for just a little bit and then go away again.
But now it's a 4-issue series. It's a medical mystery is what I'm taking it from the preview pages. Not for sure how well that's going to translate to comics, but this is one of those that you could easily see something like that optioned in the in the near future. So looks interesting.
My next thing's on 77.
Well, my next thing is something that's not in here. There's no issue of Die this book.
I'm not surprised though, because
it's probably just
it's Gillen, and he takes little breaks in between arcs and stuff. He did it on Wicked and the Divine.
So,
but yeah, you're right. I didn't notice that. But
nothing there. So, all right, my next thing's out to 120. So
77. What do you? Okay. I was just going to say on 77, Undiscovered Country #3. Did you guys read #1? Came out last week.
Yeah, I don't have it yet.
Ooh, it's really good. Scott Snyder, who you mostly know for Batman and Justice League. It was a fun book. It went. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody because it literally just came out. But I didn't do a lot of looking into it in advance. I just read the sort of thumbnail version of the plot. So maybe some of the things that happened towards the end were discussed or shown online. But there were some panels with some crazy things, and I liked it a lot. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. It feels like you just said so optionable. There's no way somebody doesn't give this thing at least a deal. So I got nothing until 97.
What? I thought there was talk of a deal already on Undiscovered.
Has it already been?
I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know.
I remember telling Mike he needed to
sold
order a few
out
extra.
immediately.
He needed to order a few extra copies.
Okay.
So
I couldn't remember if I'd seen an option or not. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I think there are.
Let me look. Let's see. They look like they might be gone.
oh, okay. So like good. Yeah, hopefully he sold them all. Hopefully he ordered some and sold them all. So
And get some second prints in.
There we go.
My next thing's on 97. Crone. from Dark Horse. Crone #1 came out. It's basically old Red Sonja, like if she retired and somebody's trying to
So
get
it's
her.
it's old woman Red Sonja.
Yes, it was really, really fun. I loved #1, so I'm excited to have some more on 106. Really, you're not going to talk about the Art of Cuphead?
No, I haven't played it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, like if you haven't played Cuphead, which is an reasonably difficult old school shooter, that's intended to be.
It's not a shooter. I thought it was a side scroller.
Yeah, it is. It's a shooter. It's
Oh,
a shooting
okay.
side scroller. Kind of like you make little finger guns. He makes little snappy noises as he does it, and then some of them are a side scrolling like a space shooter, like the shooter, shmups as they call them. But the #1 thing about that game is the art style. So we have the art of Cuphead, and the limited edition has some neat stuff in it too. Not sure it's worth $100 compared to $30 for the other one, but very, very cool.
Yeah, it turns out working a second job is really cut into my video gaming time.
Working one cuts into mine enough as it is.
109, you guys got something before that?
Nothing until 1:30 now.
So we've got the trade for Tommy Gun Wizards, which will not be called Tommy Gun Wizards because they had some sort of lawsuit there with that. And so I believe they're rebranding it Machine Gun Wizards. Yep. So even though this is solicited as that, don't look for that trade.
Machine Gun Wizards sounds much more like a metal band, and probably should have been what they called it in the first place.
So, again, I've read the first few issues of that. Again, I haven't read the entire thing yet because it's not all out yet, but that's been a pretty good book. Just, wizards and gangsters.
Okay, so page 120, Sonic the Hedgehog 25. Not talking about this for this particular issue, but this year for Halloween, I passed out the Halloween Fest comics. I gave kids a choice between Sonic, Pokemon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. I threw in some Year of the Villain because I had some laying around, and the only one that I ran out of was Sonic the Hedgehog. So there is still a lot of Sonic love out there. Even
it's an insanely consistently selling book.
So anyway, just know that if you weren't aware, there is a Sonic comic book. So there you go, from IDW, right? IDW, yep.
Yeah, it used to be Archie. Now
yeah,
it's IDW.
Did they ever explain why Archie lost that or what happened with that? Because it seemed like it was real quick, and IDW picked it up right away.
Yeah. I don't know who was actually responsible, if that was Archie ditched him or if Sega pulled the license, but yeah, it turned over really quickly.
Yeah. On 130 from IDW, we have Usagi Yojimbo Color Classics #1. So the current run of Usagi Yojimbo that IDW is doing is in color, even though it's traditionally been a black and white book. So they are going to start reprinting the original run of the book in color. So at the end of the day, at some point, you will have the entire run of Usagi Yojimbo in color. I don't know if we need that, but we're going to get it. I don't know if that was black and white was a sticking point with IDW. I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either.
They've done that before. I mean, they did that with Bone. It started as black and white, and they recolored all of it.
And it looks worse. Yeah. Bone, at least. I mean, Usagi seems fine, but
so with the new show coming up, we have Star Trek Picard miniseries. So we have the 3rd issue here. Still no artwork for the cover. It makes me think they just don't have it done yet, is my thought. Because it's like,
it's a licensing thing.
Yeah, but what couldn't you? We've seen trailers now for the show. Why can't you just have a photo cover? Like a generic thing you could throw up for this cover at this point. It just seems weird.
It's a great question. I agree. It does
I know that the company Decipher used to have a license for the Star Trek card game, and they were constantly fighting with Paramount at the time over the images that they wanted to use. They even made a card, and then the flavor text of the card, it even went and said, something about them having Paramount problems, so they would actually play off of that in some of the artwork. So I think it may just be something to do with the Star Trek licensing period. So
you figured they've had enough time to figure that out, though.
Well, maybe not. So maybe that's unrelated, but
yeah.
Feels like it might
be.
Be really.
It doesn't seem like a coincidence.
Yeah.
On 150, again in IDW, we've got Parker, the Martini Edition, Volume 1. This is a new collection of Darwin Cook's Parker stories, which are great if you haven't read them. We actually have this on the shelf here from the first time this came around. So if you don't want to wait till April, I think when this is advanced solicited for, you can just come in here and pick it up. It's a really nice edition of that. I don't have anything else for a little bit here.
And nothing until 244.
Okay, so 192 from Boom got Firefly, the Outlaw Ma Reynolds #1, written by Greg Pak, and they're shaking their heads, but I'm still going to keep talking about Firefly.
I'm shaking my head. I just don't care.
I'm not mad, Scott. I'm just disappointed.
That's better.
But it's a 4-issue series. I think I saw someplace 4-issue series. Maybe I'm just making that up. So
Fanboy hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a one-shot.
I mean, it won't go any further than 4 issues.
Well, it's probably not
You
supposed
think
to go
there's-
more
you
than
think
4
there's
issues.
4 issues worth of story about Ma
You know,
Reynolds?
why I have it written down that it's a 4-issue series, and I don't know why. I don't see anything here that says it's a 4-issue series. So, I mean, it's probably just a one-shot.
Yeah, I would think. It's 40 pages.
Yeah, so they oversized, $8. Yeah, it has to just be a one-shot. So,
You hope.
yeah, just a one-shot.
They're like, Scott will pay for it. We'll do it.
Let's get
That's a
32 bucks
monthly.
worth of money out of those Ma
I'll
Reynolds
wait
people.
until they put it into a trade and buy it that way. So, my next thing is not till 250.
244, same thing as you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we've got from Albatross Funny Books, we have the Unholy Bastards
It's not what I was going to say.
versus
Go
the
ahead.
Future. What were you going to
That
say?
I'm happy about. Second Coming, it's number 6. But it says finale. But this is what I was hoping to see.
first season.
First season finale.
Yeah.
I was really hoping there were going to be more issues afterwards. So confirmed, we're getting some more, or at least that's their intention.
On page 250 from Arsenic Lullaby Publishing, you've got Arsenic Lullaby, The Devil's Only Friend graphic novel. Just my Bird Comics convention this last year. We had Douglas Paskovich as our featured guest, and this is his baby. So if you're interested in some,
Speaking of babies.
yeah, they're not, but I won't go there. But anyway, so definitely some bizarre humor in this one, cartoonist style. It's pretty good, so it's definitely worth checking out.
On 254, we have Fred's Big Feelings, The Life and Legacy of Mr. Rogers hardcover. So there's, the documentary that came out earlier. There's the Tom Hanks movie coming out. So if you're not getting enough Mr. Rogers, we're going to have a comic coming your way, too. On 260 from Aspen, we've got some Black Cat #2 variants by Michael Turner. He's pretty,
most prolific
pretty
dev guy.
prolific.
And Hulk on the next
The
page.
Tupac of comics.
Yeah.
Well, that's Dale Keown.
Oh, I thought there
on
was.
those.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
I
He's
saw
not
him in
dead.
Aspen. I saw him in
Yeah,
Aspen. I just
it's
assumed they were
Aspen,
Michael
but,
Turner.
Dale
So
Keown. On 278, we have Frank N. Stein, Private Eye. Get it? Get it? You guys get it? So it's a Detective Frankenstein's monster.
back on 277, you had the Whisper Omnibus. Mentioned this because Stephen Grant's the writer on this, and we interviewed Stephen Grant in episode 12. So if you want to hear an interview about Stephen Grant, then just go back to this episode 12.
Kind of glad I wasn't on the show then, because I don't like Stephen Grant, and it'd have been the backwards version of warning you not to talk crap about people. It'd have been like, go back and edit out Matt said bad things about Stephen Grant.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the episode is that he had like the #1 selling book at Marvel in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because he was the writer for the Pope book. And apparently the Catholic Church bought 750,000 copies of that book.
Well, Matt, if you don't want to wait for this Whisper collection, we've got a stack of them in the Dr.
Yeah,
box.
yeah.
So you can check them out there. Early Norm Brayfogle in there, though, so there's
That's
that.
good. I do like that.
See, and he wrote the Punisher limited series
I know,
too. So
I know.
you know,
He wrote Manhunter with Vince Guarino in the 90s from DC after Zero Hour.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
On 302,
302.
From Insight, we have Bowie, Stardust, Ray Guns, and Moon Age Daydreams. And this is written by Steve Horton with art by Mike Allred. And this is totally up his alley.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is something he's been working on for a while, which I guess he's had to keep quiet about. But he's been promoting like crazy lately
I was
online.
going to say his Instagram's been full of that.
Yeah, but like, if you like Mike Allred's art, you're probably gonna want to pick this up. This is gonna be like a passion project for him, kind of thing. And there's a previews exclusive cover that he did, which the regular cover is fine, but the previews,
one
this
is-
is way more Mike Allred.
That's
of a
what I was about to
cover.
say. It's a lot more of an all-red cover.
So yeah, I'll definitely be picking this up, and it should be pretty good. It's got to be better than Golden Plates. On 342 from Titan, we've got Doctor Who comics.
13th Doctor Season 2.
Yeah, and we have a variant cover featuring, I think that's Tenant Doctor, but it's a takeoff of a Detective Comics
Comics?
cover from the 80s, and
Yes.
it's not like a key issue or anything. I mean, it's not a bad cover. It just seems like a really random book to rip off, you know, for your
It's a good book and the best
cover.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Hot take.
And then this is going to bring back the Weeping Angels. So anybody who's a fan of Doctor Who is familiar with Weeping Angels. So they're going to be back. And then on page 345, actually really going back to page 3, I just noticed this. On 341, they're soliciting Blade Runner 1 through 4 Sid Mead Virgin Variant Pack. So they got a 4-pack of the Virgin variants. They're going to be on sale January 22nd of 2020. So I didn't even see this in the regular part of the catalog anyplace. I was just trying to find it in there. They got issue 6 of the ongoing series, but they don't talk about that 4-pack anyplace. So
And this weekend, come see Scott and his band, Scott Reed and the Virgin Variants.
416, everybody have anything before that?
I got nothing until we get to the other side of the
Okay,
catalog.
so this is kind of getting into the apparel section here. There's some previews exclusive Batman hats with the 80th anniversary logo, the Batman Who Laughs, and then one with the Rebirth version of the symbol.
actually, I do want to. Okay, so on page 358, they're soliciting Roku number 4. Now we talked about this. We talked about this book as a new character from Valiant. All right, so we talked about how awful the A cover was for this book. Her face was just totally terrible, and Matt's like, I can't get that A cover because I only buy the A cover,
I
but it's
have
terrible.
to.
But he has to. So he ordered the A cover. Guess who said, "Oh, I'm not ordering the A cover. I'm ordering the B cover." And they flipped the A and B covers. So
Oh, man.
He texted me, and I was like, my first reaction was, oh crap, because I got Roku number 1, and I thought, was I confused? Maybe it was number 2 that had the bad cover.
No.
Because I got it when Mike, I pulled it on my stack that Mike could put it aside because I'm the only one that gets it, and I was like, wait, because sometimes there's another customer who sometimes buys the pre-order bundles, and those usually have exclusive covers, right? And I was like, oh, do I have his pre-order? And I looked, read the barcode. Nope, this is the A cover. And I was like, well, must have been issue 2. And I didn't think anything of it. And then we get home, and Scott's like, hey, remember?
yeah,
Yep.
yep,
Wow.
yeah.
Yep.
And on
Hey,
Force,
hey, they must be listening.
Yeah.
Clearly. They were like, we can't do that to Matt. He's such a diehard fan.
Right? From
Throw
back
that
in the
guy a
day.
bone.
yeah.
He's
Page
been buying
and
this stuff since the 90s.
page 417. If you want to relive the moment from the movie, you've got the Cap Worthy T-shirt as well. So Cap with Mjolnir. So
flipping over to the second side, page 17. You guys have anything before that?
I have nothing on side 2.
Nothing? What?
I have some things, but I was just flipping through and I realized that some of them are just things I marked to order for me or my wife. Well, I won't say because sometimes she listens to this.
So on 17, we've got the DC Premier Collection Justice League Animated Batman statue. So this is from the Justice League Animated series from a while back. And they're doing a 3, set here with Superman and Wonder Woman, and Batman's available now. And so those will be to come later. Actually, is that... Yeah, so it looks like that is out in January because it doesn't say advanced solicited or anything like that. Let's see what else we got. What did I mark here? Oh, on page 44.
Yeah, I marked this in case you hadn't seen it. Go ahead.
So there's the DC Comics Vigilante statue,
Yeah.
which I've just started picking up that run from the 80s and going through it, and I'm really liking it. But it just seems like such a weird choice.
Yeah, but it's a really great looking statue.
Yeah, it
It's
looks-
a classic
it looks
pose.
nice.
But I'm like, Vigilante? Really?
Yeah, and it's like not back a season ago on
Right.
the Arrow show or that
Right.
version of it. It's like it looks cool. It's please inquire for the price, so I don't know
Yeah.
how much it's going to be. That's not a good sign.
Look at the Tweeterhead Cheetah, which is also awesome, right next to
Right,
it. It's
yeah.
$260, and they went ahead and printed that.
Yeah. I feel like Tweeterhead is a premium though. That will not be. I can't imagine it'll be that much, but we'll see.
On the next page over, did you see the Joker and Harley wedding cake statue? It's $50. It's kind of nice.
Oh yeah, that ain't
It's based
bad,
on a
I guess.
Batman Adventures cover. It's really kind of
Yeah.
cool. And then I've got to get through the things that aren't actually things I want to talk about, just things I'm going to buy.
On 46 from 112 Collective, we've got the DC Comics Supreme Knight Batman figure. And so this is the third one they've done with Batman. There was like the sort of first
Oh, yeah.
appearance and then the classic. This is sort of an older Dark Knight Returns kind of version of it. And they all look pretty nice.
Did you see, what's your next thing?
50.
Okay, go ahead.
So-
I saw those and liked those. I'm sure you're going to say the same thing.
Yeah, so on 50, we've got a bunch of Ghostbusters props coming out in January instead of October or September when you could actually have them for Halloween.
Or at least for Christmas. You can have them
Yeah.
Well, when's
December.
the
Why?
Ghostbusters movie out next year?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, my answer is I don't care.
Don't. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I love Ghostbusters 1, and honestly, I really like 2. And I said this about the Answer the Call reboot. I didn't have a problem with it being all women. I just didn't feel like I needed another Ghostbusters movie. Like,
Well,
and I love 1 and 2, but at no point in the intervening 20-something years was I like, when will I get more?
Yeah,
I'm fine.
but when
I
I
had a
was-
really great cartoon when we were kids.
Yeah,
I had
right.
2 solid movies. I'm good. I didn't need more than that.
Yeah, I wanted a sequel when I was 12.
Right, that's what I mean.
You know
like,
what I mean? It's like I've
and I
gotten
felt,
over it.
but
at
I felt
this
like I
point.
had that through the cartoon. The cartoon was
Yeah.
so fun that I mean, I had a lot of good stories that I liked when I was a kid, and I don't know. It's the same way I feel about GI Joe. I've never seen any of the GI Joe movies because I don't need it, and GI Joe is hard at the top of my list of childhood favorite things, and I've never seen the movie because I don't know, man. I just don't feel like I need more of it.
Right.
What I had in the '80s was awesome, and it's okay. Like, it's okay for things to stay in your
Sometimes
childhood.
you can't go home again.
Right. And it's
you
better
know?
not. And everybody's like, oh, they're terrible. You should watch them. No, I should not watch them. I know they're terrible. But even if they were good, honestly, they would need to be like Dark Knight level of genre fiction for me to go watch a friggin' G.I. Joe movie. And even if that happened, it wouldn't really be G.I. Joe, would it? Like, that's not the point. My next thing's on 71.
Well, at 57, from Super 7, we've got the RoboCop reaction figures.
I do love these overall, just the reaction figures in
Yeah.
general.
So we have a regular RoboCop, we have Battle Damage RoboCop, and then we have Emil Antikovsky, who was the villain from the movie. How this isn't labeled as a Battle Damage figure, I don't know. This is the guy that gets the sludge dropped on
the
him, and
radioactive
it gets
melting.
the car driven through him. If anything needed an action figure, it's that guy. from
Well,
RoboCop.
battle damage usually implies you live through it.
Yeah.
So,
There's also another battle damaged criminal I thought they could have made a figure of with that, but they chose not to, I guess. On a 64, in the Funko Pop section, got a lot of Batman stuff. Still kind of going with the 80th anniversary. We have a Red Sun Batman, Batmite. We have the 19-inch Batman that they're doing for $100.
that feels like a lot.
And it's like, where are you going to put that? Where do you put a 19-inch pop figure?
Bend over and I'll show you. Christmas vacation, huh? Too soon?
After that, we've got the Batwoman previews exclusive one, which it's the
It's
it's
really
the
nice.
comic version. It looks nice.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not off the new show that Batwoman
I know.
has right now.
I had the same thought.
Then we have a Bill Nye pop figure because they got to do everybody. You know, eventually Bill Nye gets one. And then we have the Avengers Endgame figures
And
that
yet,
they're still making.
and yet, I do not have my Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band pops. I want them, and they won't make them. On the next page, the tombstones, look at Doc Holliday's eyes.
Oh, nice.
How great is that? He's paler, and he has red rings around his
Right.
eyes. It's really pretty great. I love that movie. I've been very tempted to buy those pops. I actually have that page marked as a think about it for yourself page.
With the Pop Pez dispensers they have on the next page. These are mythical creatures. I saw the Bigfoot. I thought this was Gene from Bob's Burgers for a second, like in the Sasquatch outfit.
That's why I'm 71. It's just a nice looking Batman Who Laughs statue. I don't know.
It
that I'm
looks
gonna
nice
get
with
it.
that lighting. We'll see how
Yes.
it actually looks in real life.
True.
But yeah,
It's not bad, and it's got a Dark Knight's metal base.
Yeah, that
and
base looks
It's
nice.
really cool.
because you're all about that bass.
I am. I've seen my wife.
On 107, we've got DC Heroes Batman playing cards. I feel like we just had 2 sets of Batman
Yeah.
playing cards a few months ago.
Yeah.
How many Batman playing card sets do we need?
I have this page marked because there is a Darkseid and a Captain
Yeah.
Marvel Toon Tumbler. And
Yeah, Super
I've been meaning
Powers
forever to buy these Toon Tumblers, and I
Right.
just started buying them, and I'm getting these two. Like a catalog or two ago, they had a thing that was the back catalog of what you could order, and I thought, I'm just going to draw a line, straight one, give me all.
Right. On 109, we have the Avengers Endgame Iron Man Gauntlet coin bank. So they've done several of these with the regular Infinity Gauntlet. So now that we're getting the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet version. On 110, Mondo is releasing a bunch of Marvel soundtracks on vinyl. So if you want to get some of those from some
Why?
of the now canceled Netflix shows or the Spider-Man video game. On 111, we've got the Bob Ross Body Knocker So for all the Bob Ross fans out there, you can pick that up. On 112, we have a Nintendo Super Mario cartridge fleece and a NES controller fleece.
Only gripe here is they don't tell you how big these are. So I don't know if these are like little bitty grandma cover your legs
Right.
fleeces or if these are like wrap yourself up in it. If they're friggin' huge, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. I don't know. With those prices, I'm going to bet they're smaller.
I think so too.
You know.
On the next page, there is a Han Solo and Carbonite tiki
Yeah.
mug, and it's awesome. Not sure it's $30 awesome, but it's pretty freaking great.
So
I'm
I think that's it for everybody.
So blank covers, got Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Red Sonja Age of Chaos 1, Thor 1, Wonder Woman 750, Doctor Who 13th Doctor Season 2 1, Red Agent Island of Dr. Moreau,
Sure.
Quantum and Woody 1, Star Wars 1, and they have a 3-pack of these. They're just the title is just horror comics, and they're actually sketchbooks, but they're white, black, and red covers. So, and you can get a 666 pack where there's 6 white, 6 black, and 6 red.
Nice.
Which book you most looking forward to?
Bowie. I want to see
Bowie?
what Mike Howard does
Okay.
with that.
Honestly, I didn't think about it. I don't know, something from DC. probably that Robin being in Legion, or Suicide Squad #2, because I'm just happy to have like a real version of the Suicide Squad back.
I'm looking forward to the Hawkeye Free Fall book. I can't imagine it's going to be anywhere near as good as the Matt Fraction Hawkeye started
No,
off.
I don't know how it
but
could
but if it's anywhere close to that,
Who's writing this one again? Did you say?
I don't remember.
Cool. We didn't make it into this at all. Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Otto Schmidt's drawing it. I know
Yes,
that.
there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah. It looks cool, so hopefully it'll be good. So
That is the one thing that it might be able to do in the same vicinity as the Fraction. The Fraction one was well written and was really gorgeous. This one might be at least, really, really pretty.
And I like the plot behind the story, the idea behind the story. So somebody else takes up Ronin and goes head to head with Hawkeye. So could be interesting. Investment book, you got to pick. It was tough.
Probably
this
that
time.
Roku book. That'll probably be when she gets that movie deal. When we get the Valiant Cinematic Universe on the roll.
I don't even have a pick to make, to be honest. I don't think anything jumped out at me as being nothing. So look, there's issues 2 and 3 of things that I think are investment grade, but you should have already bought number 1.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, the number one's going to be the investment book. I put down The Clock just because it's one of those ideas where all it takes is for it to be optioned, and then that could become something.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I expected to mention more things in Boom this time because Boom and Image are just the places that Vertigo books went. And they have sort of a little bit of a mini rivalry about who's getting what these days. But I didn't see anything new at either company. It was just more stuff that looks good from both of them, but nothing new to highlight.
And then I guess too, it probably is worth mentioning that Immortal Hulk, Spider Hulk book, because all the Immortal Hulk fans, that'd be a book that'd be easy for them to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, so
There was I'm looking at prices because I'm thinking about selling my run of Immortal Hulk, but there is one of the one-shots that Al Ewing did is dramatic. A run with that issue in it jumps up quite a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
all right.
Was there something you wanted to bring up here at the
We were going
end?
to talk about 5G if you want to talk about it. Have you guys followed into the rumor at all?
I have not.
Daniel?
Maybe we want to get into this next time, maybe?
We can.
Let's do that. Next episode, we'll go over our thoughts
Table
on
it.
5G.
Well, actually, it'd be great because we should have a special guest for the
Yes.
next one. And
Oh, yeah.
he's going to have some thoughts.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yes.
wait till
Yeah.
next time.
Okay.
man.
I wondered about that
too. At least the first X number of episodes of Watchmen will be on that podcast as well. So.
Yeah, and we should be able to talk about The Mandalorian by then, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have several episodes of those. And I got a couple of things we'll run it by you when we shut the podcast
Sounds
off.
good.
Okay. Until then, Dan, where can we find you?
You can find me at Detective651 on Twitter, Instagram. More importantly, my TeePublic store. Get you some nerdy T-shirts while you can.
Buy them before the feds
on
get them.
there. Yeah, a lot of holiday sales coming up, so be sure to check those out.
Scott?
Scott Reed, birdcomics.com, BURG, posting a fair amount of stuff on eBay right now
what I was gonna say.
between convention seasons. So just
You've had a lot of good books and a lot of good deals, too.
I try every once in a while. So
You succeed. And I'm at Wookie Copilot, WOOKIEECOPILOT, on everything. So, yep.
So this was the catalog for November for things starting to ship in January of 2020. If you heard something that you might want to check out, or if there's something else in here you want to order, let Mike know by the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yep, before you leave town, like you said.
And we'll, with all those fun teasers, we'll see you next time. Does anybody care about that story?